Tell me what you see when you look at me. Do you see another brother lost in these streets looking for his soul?
Trying to find my soul.
Or do you see another brother searching for lost souls in these streets? A street soldier.
Street soldier.
Here to help you get that chip off your shoulder, warm your colder days and sober your drunken ways, and find a way to help you get over these hurdles placed in our path. And this is not meant to amuse you. This is for all those who have questions but are afraid to ask.
I won't be afraid. I won't be afraid. No. When times get hard, you lose your way. Open your mind and hear what I say.
This is a message for the hard and the soft. To those who tune in weekly and to those who keep an eye out for 8 p.m. on Sundays and turn their radios off. The truth hurts. The cloth has been pulled. We're walking around half dead. Use this show as your IV. Alive and free is a new movement. We've achieved self-destruction. A street soldier promotes self-improvement.
Streets couldn't be no colder, so I gotta be a soldier. It shouldn't be this hard for me. Even when it seems so hopeless, I gotta keep my focus. I'm glad to be alive and free, yeah. Streets couldn't be no colder, so I gotta be a soldier. It shouldn't be this hard for me. Even when it seems so hopeless, I gotta keep my focus. I'm glad to be alive and free, yeah.
I always have a conversation with the young people. Lady Estell and I both do. We do it around Mother's Day. We do it around Father's Day because the word father is means different things to different young people. And so I want to sort of, I had my conversation last Tuesday night. And I actually, for us to begin this discussion, just to show how, can I say the word charged? This word is for a lot of folks. I can't find my paper with the word on it. Where is it? Lady Estell is buried somewhere. Okay. Dr. White, Ray, this is what I did. So the first thing, because, this is the all individual thing, right?
Yes.
I asked the young people, what word comes up for you when they think about father? So I say father, you give me the word. And this is a mixed group, young men, young women. I'd say the ages are, Lady Estell, how old do you think the kids in the
kids
room are?
Kids between 16 and 20.
20, yeah. Some a little older, 23. So I went around the room and I wrote on a board and I said, father. The first one said trying. Another one said daddy. Another one said protector. And I don't know what their father's situation is. I'm just telling you, give me a word. One said provider. Another said apologetic.
Wow.
When I say the word father, one said empty. Another said deadbeat. One said mother. Another said cheap. Someone said lost. One said first love. One said worker. One said never met him. One said dead. And one said nothing. I don't have anything to say. Then I asked, what word comes up for you when you think about your father? Oh, by the way, it's funny. I got this one girl, young lady, she just won't let us do our thing. She always put extra on it, right? So she says, Dr. Marshall, what word comes up for you? I said, girl, this ain't about me. It's about y'all. But I will give you my word just so you let me go on with the lesson. They said, what's your word? I said, Superman.
Wow.
That's my word. Next, I asked, what word comes up when you talk about your father? And these same group of kids going back around the room, they said, one said lost. One said MF. I don't think I have to say that one for you. One said sacrifice. One said understanding. Depressed. Neglectful. Non-existent. A joke. Childish. strong-minded, alive, financial, abused and broken, nonchalant, never met him, selfish, fake as, I think you know the next word I'm going to say.
Yeah.
And I've been doing this for years, and so obviously the thing that comes from this is everybody has an individual father experience, and I just wanted to find out what that was. And the next thing I asked them was, and this is mostly a African American group, although we not completely. I said, do you think, how many of you think black fathers are really not involved in the lives of their children? Now, knowing that everybody has their individual experience, I said, do you think? I said, who do you think is more involved in the lives of their children? And I broke it down, ethnicity. I said, white men, black men, Latin men, Asian men. What do you think? I said, where do you think, black men rate? And they said, last. And I said, well, it might surprise you, and then they perked up, that the Center for Disease Control did a study, and both of you are familiar with this, in 2013, I believe, that first it said this, and let me just do this. Because normally I ask the question, who's the most important parent? And that's a trick question. And most of the kids say mother. Some kids say father. Generally, the ones that say father are ones that actually have a father. And then, sometimes you can't afford for people not, rarely do I tell kids the answer. But then I said, let me tell you what the answer is. And I said, both are equally important. Then I read for them what the CDC said. The CDC has found that fathers' involvement in the lives of their children has been shown to have a positive effect on children and their well-being in many areas. For example, a positive effect on increasing their academic success. That means your grades go up, pops around. In reducing delinquency. You stay off, you go to school. And in reducing substance abuse.
That's an important one nowadays.
Even more so. Because every kid I know is trying to fool with something, okay? The review also found that children whose fathers assumed 40% or more of the family care tasks had better achievement than children whose fathers were less involved. So the more dads involved, and it's a correlation. That's the word they use in these studies, a correlation. Now, how they do these studies, I don't know, but they're correlation. But in other words, having pops in your life doing this thing is damn good. It'll make things better for you in so many ways. Now, the study also found that, and this is the one they perked up on, black fathers are just as present and sometimes more so in the lives of their children than dads of other races. And they're like, what? Defying the stereotype that black fathers simply aren't around to give their children guidance and support. It goes on to say that a higher percentage of black fathers living with their young children did daily activities like sharing meals, dressing their children, and reading to them. Across the board, black dads did just as much as anybody else, whether they live with them or apart from them.
Yes.
And they were like, what? I didn't know that. How come we don't know that? And you don't know that because there's a lot of good stuff about us we don't know about. And nobody wants you to know the good stuff.
Right.
Dr. White, Ray, you have particularly been involved in this. Just comment on this whole misconception the black dads ain't doing their thing.
Dr. White, you want to go first?
Thank you. I go first. Yes. So, just to reiterate, yes, it is a misconception. If you look statistically, right, the CDC, and we will use every other statistic from the CDC except that one, right? We'll hide that one.
I like that.
But however, in all seriousness, right, there are a lot of misconceptions, a lot of misinformation just about us in general as African Americans, right?
Yep.
In terms of our history, our culture, all the above. And so it doesn't go without saying that the black father, the myth of the absent black father is something that is it's perpetuated. And the stereotype is perpetuated, which makes us think something is almost inherently wrong with us as black men, black fathers, black families. And so, if we look statistically, we see that that's not true. And I think now persons like myself and Mr. Upchurch, yourself, Dr. Marshall, are, doing as best we can to be this anti-stereotype. And I think that now things are changing, and we can't continue to have the wool pull over our eyes in this particular context.
Ray, you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I would just say I completely agree. And I think, Doc, even very simply, I think when we look around just in our communities and neighborhoods, I'm seeing more fathers with their children on a daily basis in the mall, grocery shopping, at the park. So I think we absolutely, and I remember when I started this, my greatest fear, because I saw a correlation between incarceration and fatherlessness. So my fear was we were going to continue to be incarcerated at these higher rates. At that time, the statistic was black boys were 20 times more likely to go to prison if they didn't have a father. And what I'm seeing now is that there are a lot of fathers involved. There's a lot of young men that want to be fathers. And I think even maybe a bigger secret is I see more mothers that actually want the fathers involved. And just like we're saying, we don't want to hear this term baby daddies anymore.
No.
We are actually fathers. So Target and the rest of these people that are selling those, that's not who we are.
Exactly, and there is the empirical evidence, but then there's the eye test, and I agree with both of you. I see dads with their kids all the time, man. I mean, seriously. I mean, just walking down the street, at like you say, at the mall. I'll be seeing them. I have literally gone into bathrooms, right? And Pops is changing the diaper, and upset because they don't have a changing table in the men's room.
Right.
He's like, damn, man, I got to change my kid. Why can't I have one? And then petitioning places are like, can you put a changing table in the men's room so that I can change? I don't put my daughter down on the floor, It is really beautiful. The eye test meets the statistical evidence, and that's why we got to just blow this narrative up. I mean, no, it ain't true. It ain't true. And I really think the best way to do it is to talk about the joy, of being a father, man. But it is as both of you know, I know. My son, who was not a dad, knows it is a wonderful thing, and that's what we're going to do tonight. We just lay it out there, and but that eye test is so good, and not only the eye test, but when I talk to them, they love it, man. Yes, Doc, you're right. Ain't nobody said to me, man, it's her job. No, I want my kid, man. I love my kid. And it doesn't matter if it's a son or a daughter. I just love what I'm doing. I may not know how to do it, and I have confidence. Man, what do I do, Dr. Marshall? Man, if they got confidence, but they this whole narrative, both the eye test and the empirical test is that it's not true. Not only is that, more so, and this isn't a contest, but more so than other folks, and it's just really, really wonderful to see. Yeah, you want to jump in? Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, Doc, I remember when I did Daddy Hunger, and if I can put a little shout out, because this is kind of huge to me. You remember that new mayor of San Francisco, 11 years ago, she was in Daddy Hunger.
She sure was.
That's right. And that's right. It was the first time we met. She arranged the screening, yes.
That's right. She is in it. Yep.
Yeah. But I remember when I started, it was like I felt like I was screaming at the top of my lungs, please, we have to be engaged in the life of our kids. And I started looking at what those numbers were saying, and it was frightening. So now to see, and then I remember when that term, baby daddy came, I didn't even understand it the first few times I heard it. Like, what is this? But now, and to see that we've changed this thing.
That we rejected. There's certain words we should have rejected from the beginning, like that N-word, right? Because that ain't you, right? And when you buy into something, then you start to think that, you made it up, like it belongs to you. No, it never was you in the first place. And so, look, we got to go to break. When we come back, gonna play a song. Hope we play something good about daddies. I'm gonna ask each of you about your work, how you got into it, what you're hoping as you put your stuff out. So we'll be back. All right. Okay, Live and Free Radio, hour number 2, celebrating Father's Day right here on Street Soldiers. Joining us in the celebration, 2 gentlemen who are doing a lot of work around fatherhood. Dr. Khalid Akil, I hope I said that right. Akil White, the author of Black Fatherhood, Trials, Tribulations, Testimony, and Triumph, and also has a documentary of the same name. And Ray Upchurch, who did the film Daddy, 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 Hunger. I want to ask both of you, and we have already established now that this myth, particularly of African-American fathers, that they are less involved. Number one, don't want to be involved, but are statistically less involved than other folks in the area of father is not true. It's been proved by the CDC. And we've also done the eye test. And we know that. So we're going to do the new narrative, and the narrative that I particularly, and I think you like to push, is the joys of fatherhood. And by the way, I got to say this, man. I got 90 texts from folks today saying Happy Father. That is so cool. That is wonderful. Wow. Wonderful. I guess they appreciate all that money I gave them to go to college. So.
There you go.
And I sent out a whole bunch to every dad I knew. I mean, I did. I did. But I really did, because I just think it's just the greatest thing personally in the world, and I know that it is equally important. There's 2 sides of this equation. I call it the balance, motherhood and fatherhood. Ray, why don't you start and talk about how you got into the work and what led you to do the film Daddy Hunger, and what you learned from it. Go right ahead.
Absolutely. So I'm not lettered like Dr. White was, but I didn't know who my father was, and every day I would wonder, what does this guy look like? How does his voice sound? What do his eyes look like? So at the age of 41, I decided I have to go find him. So I found out where he was. I flew to his place of business, and to find out that he was a professor of sociology at an Ivy League university. And I met him on that campus of the university. It was the first and only time I'd ever seen him in my life. And in that moment, after I saw him, it was like all of these questions had been answered. And I immediately thought, after that moment, my God, this is what's wrong with our community at that time. And I was like, I've got to do something. So I came back home, hired a film crew, had never, ever in my life thought about making a film, but decided, we got to do something. So I was able to get into Folsom Prison. John Johnson was an amazing man who helped me set it up. Thomas Drayton, who was a news anchor. I hired these guys. We went into Folsom. We interviewed convicted murderers, 4 of them. 3 of them were fatherless. All of them left children in society fatherless. And we interviewed them. As I mentioned, John introduced me to Mayor Breed. We interviewed her and several other people. And even at that moment, Doc, I didn't know what to do with this film. I was just like, we got to do something. And it, took on its own life. And I ended up traveling around the country for about 5 years, just bringing awareness to the issue. And my goal was never to say, Black men, we're doing terrible. We're not good fathers. I remember I met with a professor, and she said, well, who's your demographic? And I said, well, I want to reach the hearts of black men. And she said at that time, you might want to look for a larger demographic. But I stayed true to what I thought was in my heart and what this message was about. And, you know, and started researching and studying and looking at the statistics. And every statistic said that if a father's not involved, the outcome for their children is diminished. I mean, things as simple as, you know, young men being 20 times more likely to go to prison, or a young girl was 9 times more likely to be the victim of sexual assault. You know, so when we start putting those pieces together, it was like, we've got to do something.
Ray, the film is a landmark piece. Again, it is. It's amazing. It is I've never seen anything like that, you know, that dealt with that particular subject. And I would say, from a spiritual sense, that, you know, the Lord was in that work with you, brother, because he guided you to put something together that is just. And you know, the thing that's one of those pieces that's timeless. Maybe the numbers change, but the issues that it touches don't change. And so,
Absolutely.
you know, 30 years from now, that film's going to be worth, you know, seeing. It's like the autobiography of Malcolm X. It's going to
well, I don't know where that
Well,
goes.
no, but my point is, it's always going to be relevant, because that's that man's struggle, right? And his coming to a realization and knowledge of self. That film is really about the knowledge of fatherhood. And you know, it was put on you, and you did a wonderful job. We're going to tell folks how they can grab hold of the film now. The subject is just as powerful as ever. We'll do that as we near the end. But thank you for doing that. I remember showing it. Remember we showed it in Baltimore, Lady Estell?
It was so powerful. And the music, and I've got to say that. Yeah. Oh my goodness, the scenes, the way you wrapped it up, everything is just so powerful and life-changing.
Yeah.
Thank you, Lady Estell. Let me say this, because I remember when we were in Baltimore, and you know, again, I was new. I didn't know what to do with it. I didn't know how to monetize. I didn't know anything. And I remember when we showed it in Baltimore, that day changed my life. And I remember I made hats and T-shirts, and by the end of it, I'm like, here, just give it away, because those kids were broken.
Broken.
And
they ran out of the room.
I remember.
It wasn't just the kids. The kids, the adults. I mean, people in the room were broken.
Yes.
You helped them deal with bring some.
You helped them put those pieces back together.
That's it. That's it.
Amen.
Thank you.
Amen.
Amen. That's the way to put it.
And Doc, you're right. I don't call it that is God's film, because I'm not a filmmaker. I just happened to make a film at that time.
Thank you for that. Dr. White, you have taken up the mantle also. You have a book, you have the documentary work. And by the way, Dr. White, I didn't know I had your book. I looked up and I found it, and I started reading it. Good stuff. Just like the film, very good stuff. And your own story of you, that was the first thing I read about, and how you came to fatherhood thinking that you were going to be, you know, like a lot of young brothers. What'd you say in the book? A player. I love that, man, because that's so many. Graduate of Morehouse. You know, I'm out here. I got my apartment. Right. Look, let me say, certain generations don't change nothing. I was the same way. I got my degree. I want my spot. I'm gonna freak off this pad, and you know, I'm gonna do my thing. And that's the way of so many young men. So I'm getting into your story, but let me just tell your own. How did you come to do the work that you're doing?
Well, in 2014, I was sitting at the house watching the whole situation in Ferguson, Missouri unfold with Michael Brown and his murder. And so from that, or in that, you know, they were kind of the mass media or mainstream media, CNN, Fox News, I'm not sure exactly which channel I was watching cover this or which channels I was watching. But, you know, they blamed this whole incident and the death of Michael Brown indirectly and directly on the lack of a father or lack of a father figure. And the riots there in Ferguson were the cause of, you know, if Michael Brown's father was there or stepfather was there, et cetera, they were the ones who instigated the riot. And if they were around, it wouldn't be this whole situation. And, you know, it offended me because as a father, I knew there were a number of different fathers in my own circle and in my life personally that I knew, we are there for our children. And they were painting this picture and, taking all the culpability away from the officer who killed Michael Brown, but they would blame it on the community, blame it on the father or the lack of fathers, et cetera, et cetera. So, from that, I was infuriated, I was offended, and I said, well, I know too many African-American men, fathers, father figures, grandfathers, et cetera, and let me try to get them to tell their story. So I found a number of different men and a couple women who were in these contemporary parenting scenarios that we kind of face across our village, right? Village meaning just the black community. Whether it is a man with a couple different kids by a couple different women, whether it's a man who's raising children who are not his biological children, whether it is a brother who's raising kids who never had a father himself. So how does he become the father that he wants or he always wanted? Whether it is a grandfather who saw the community before crack and after crack, whether it is an African brother who was raising, kids in America and how to keep the African culture. And so I wanted to get these different scenarios that we're facing, co-parenting, family court, and child support issues, all these different things. And I wanted just to get these brothers and a couple of sisters to tell their stories, stay-at-home dads and single dads and all that different type of stuff. So my book is a collection of stories of, 14 different men and scenarios and situations, and then we happen just to film these interviews. So from the filming of it, we put it together. I had an editor, Maya Porter, who's a single mother, and she's, an editor. She put the film together, and kind of like Mr. Upchurch was saying, I didn't plan to make a film. I'm not a filmmaker, but we just happened to stumble into a film that's been having some real success in communities. And I want to salute Mr. Upchurch because his film was awesome. And he kind of paved the way for a person like me just to have a lane. So, that's how we kind of got into it.
Reading the book, I really like the way you did it. The range of folks around fatherhood, the range, and the issues that they face, and dealing with them, overcoming them. I mean, and I happen to know some people in the book, and Doug Ford, great guy.
Yes.
Talked about his challenges. It's really something. It's really something that folks should read, and then to have like Ray did, to have their stories right on film. You can actually see the people and hear their stories. I just applaud both of you for the work in dispelling and talking about obviously the need and dispelling the myth. And so that we can get to what we should be talking about is the joys of being a dad. Because I think not only do kids miss out, dads miss out. I mean, it's the greatest thing in the world. And you're both dads. You know the joys of being a father. And it's funny when we go and I go into the prisons, Ray and I do, we talk to men and I don't want them to miss out on that as much as I don't want their kids to miss out on them. I don't want them to miss out. And so I just appreciate both of you for jumping headlong onto this and staying with it. And I think that I can definitely say, just in the work I'm doing, I'm seeing more and more dads with that joy.
Absolutely.
Going to the games, everything that dads do, right? Everything dads do, and not letting these obstacles that they face derail them. And we know traditionally some of those obstacles of the courts, not being able to, and saying, I don't care. I want to be a dad. I'm going to hang in there. Throw at me what you want, the relationship with the mom, right? Okay, right. Before they get stuck on it, I want to be a dad. I want that joy, and I want to be a dad as much as, mom wants to be a mom. And so I see that more and more, and it's really, really wonderful to see for us to get that balance, because, you cannot, I can say this, you cannot raise a community with one hand tied behind your back, right?
Right.
You got to have mom bring something to the equation, dad brings something to the equation, and when that balance is there, everything is all right. Let me just ask, because I'm going to open it up to folks that want to talk. For you individually, each of you individually, is there a particular memory that you have of if you've had your own dad or a father figure in your life that you can remember a memory for you that was like, man, that was greatest, and then anything that a joy for you as a father. I'll start. And I was lucky because I had my dad the whole time. I had my dad the whole time. They had him right there. And when I said for me that, I used the word Superman. Literally, I thought my father was Superman. I mean, before Batman and Superman and T'Challa. Right. And I had my own Black Panther, right? Right. I'm serious, man. That dude was like Superman to me. And I can remember waking, and a lot of folks know my story, who know me, like oldest of 9 kids, 5 girls, 4 boys. And, Pops was like, and one of my, and I said this every Father's Day, I call him and say, thank you for not taking penitentiary chances with your kids.
Amen.
And I mean that. And I have this couple of memories. One is I remember being at home and waking up in the middle of the night and hearing this noise, and I don't know if somebody's breaking into the house, what the hell was going on? And I'm thinking, I ain't getting out of this bed. I ain't moving. He could come and steal everybody blind. He could kill. I ain't moving. But then Superman got up, went through the house and, man, you cool. I thought that was just the coolest thing, man. I said, this is a bad dude. I mean, I had Superman before there was Superman. And it's funny, early memories you have, you don't think about. He worked so much he couldn't come to all my games, right? But I remember him taking me over to I grew up in South Central. We moved from St. Louis, and I grew up in South Central. And I lived across the street from this playground. Anybody knows in L.A. knows the Harvard playground is, right? 62nd and Decker. Went over there, and I wanted to pitch Little League. And I need somebody to help me. So Dad went out there and, set up the target, And, man, I thought I was like, name the pitcher. I was going to be the one, But those moments with your dad are like, as a boy, were like, man, I was like cool as hell, And just little things like that. And that was always a phrase I could always use that a lot of my peers can use. I'm going to tell my daddy.
Right.
So for me, I knew it, man. When I became a father, I'm like, hey, I don't care what happens to me. I'm gonna be Pops, because I know what it brought to the equation. He taught me how to work, and he taught me that men take care of the children. That's mine. Yeah. I got a little long with it, cause hey, that's Pops. Either one of you, and we can continue this after break. A special memory, or for you, or a joy for you.
Yeah.
Well, for me, I still have my dad with me today, and he's been hands-on since day one, and I'm still able to call on him and ask him questions and get his advice and talk to him and watch the game with him, et cetera, et cetera. So, my memories growing up really was just, him being at the games and yelling from the stands and those type of things, cussing referees out, and all that type of stuff, right?
Cussing referees out. I love that.
He was real passionate, right, about, whether it's baseball, basketball, those types of things. But just the ability now as an adult to be able to still have that relationship and that bond with him.
Yeah.
And just to get that blueprint, and in 2009, my dad took myself took me and my younger brother to Ghana, and we spent some time, on the soils of Africa.
Wow,
that was a big deal for me. And
wow, are you kidding me?
So,
that's amazing, wonderful.
He's that type of guy, yeah. So, and then as a father, just to hear my daughter for the first time call me dad or daddy. Yeah. And then to hear her reading for the first time, it's brought tears to my eyes. So I can remember those moments.
That's beautiful, vividly. Man. Yeah. That's beautiful. Mm-hmm. That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
That's beautiful, Doctor. I can say this probably sounds a little weird, but it's something I can see the moment. But I was about 9 years old, and my dad's making me sweep the floor at home. And I'm like, I say to him, this is girls' work. What are you doing? I don't want to sweep floors. And he said to me, well, one day you may have to take care of your own home, and you need to know how to do this.
Wow.
And, right. And,
wow.
And I think, look, Doc, this was about 6 months ago. I go to him and I say, Pops, do you remember that? Because I've been a single father since my boys were 4 and 6. Yeah, so he told me, I had to sweep the floor, and I was mad. And he said, well, boy, one day you may have to do this in your own home. And, I had no idea at that point I'd be a single dad. And not only have I had to learn to sweep floors, but it's cook dinner, do homework, vacuum, So that was one of my favorite memories with him. And now, to mature and have him as my best friend is everything.
Yep.
And in terms of my favorite memories with my son, this one was a big one for me because the oldest came home at 12, and he said this girl had asked him to go in the bathroom and do some things with her. I was panicked. I didn't know, because it was like, well, do I tell him this or tell him that? And I was like, I've got to get these boys a value system. They need a value system. And I thought about what that could be, and the one that came to mind for me was the 10 Commandments. So, when we're driving in the car, I'd tell them, well, tell me the 10 Commandments, from 1 to 10. What's your favorite? Those things. And through the years, so my oldest son now, he's entering his 3rd year at a Christian college, and it looks like he wants to be a minister.
Wow.
So I think one of my favorites too is simply introducing them to God and letting God do the rest for us.
I like that, man. That's Pops.
Thank you.
That's Pops.
Yeah.
That's Pops. Got a caller on the line. Has been waiting a while. Let's see if we can pull line 1 up. That's, I believe, is Zachary. Is that right? Zachary?
Yes, sir.
How are you, man? Thank you for joining us on this Father's Day. Happy Father's Day. Thank you for joining our guests, Ray Upchurch and Dr. Khalid White. Joys of fatherhood, you just go ahead and comment on what you want to.
Well, real quick, I was actually blessed to personally know Mr. Upchurch, and he actually in a big role in making me a father.
Wow. Tell him how. He didn't know. I don't know if he knows that. Go right ahead. How did that happen?
Yeah, I've told him personally and publicly. I met Mr. Upchurch. I call him Uncle Ray. When I was hurting, I was lonely. I was in the streets, and he taught me how to love.
Wow.
He taught me unconditional love.
Oh my God.
And I got a 10-year-old son now. I apologize. I apologize.
Don't apologize. Just let it out, bro.
It's all right, nephew. I can tell you this about my nephew, Zach, Doc. This young man is a father himself, and I remember we spent so much time together when he was younger, and he had his son, and you talking about good father makes him like a child in fatherhood. He doesn't miss a game. He calls his son baby, and he's little Zach, and he's the most amazing dad.
You know what this does, and not that it needs to be the emotion that Zachary is showing dispels this myth about we don't care. Okay, we don't care. men know about that, and that's what makes us good dads. You know.
Yeah, I apologize. Like I was saying, I saw Ray love his kids, and I didn't have that. And he took me under his wing, and he showed me what love was.
Wow.
And I was there through the whole daddy hunger movement, and we had a conversation, and I was upset, and I still am upset with my dad. And when he told me he was going out of town to go meet him, I used to ask him why. Why do you want to meet him? Obviously, he didn't want to meet you. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Just angry. And he came back so happy and fulfilled and complete. And I pray that I find that. You know what I mean? Because my biological dad is local. And has a relationship with my other brother, but there's no relationship with myself. Mm-hmm. And I hurt, and I have my own parent issues, but I take it out on being a good dad to my son. Mm-hmm. And I didn't mean to come up here emotional or whatever, but...
Do not apologize for your emotion, bro. That's being a dad.
Well, and
go ahead. Here comes Lady Estell.
Even more than that, it's being human. and too often, that humanity, that ability to feel and love and care is something that too many of our men that's been stripped from too many of our men. And the fact that you have that is such a gift to you and to everybody who comes in contact with you. And I've got to say, I can understand the pain around your dad not being there. But then I need you to recognize and see the gift that you've been given. And the fact that you had a man that was fearless in loving you and showing you what love is to the point where you could feel it, see it, and then transmit it to somebody else, that's a gift that only comes from God. I think that if you can relax in that and trust that, find joy and peace in that, because you got what you needed. Yeah, and see, when we can get what we need, there are things that we want that sometimes isn't what's good for us. Okay? But when we get what we need, and that thing that we need is something that uplifts us, transforms us, heals us, and allow us to be who we've been created to be, accept that. Trust that.
Absolutely.
Be grateful for that. I celebrate you and your tears because that's what real men are able to do.
Amen.
Amen. Amen. Amen. Thank you. Thank you. Thank
I
you.
appreciate you all, Ray. I love you. Thank you all.
And we love you, bro. Thank you, man. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Wow. Ray.
Can I say something really quick too, Doc, with that?
Sure.
Very quickly, but I just want to say, because I certainly understand Zach's pain, my nephew, but also there's this beautiful part that we get to do, and that was everything that we felt like we didn't have, we get to break that cycle and make it never happen again in our bloodline, and create our own legacy. And he's doing it with his son.
What I say earlier, you may not be able to do anything about the family you come from, but you can do everything about the family you create. Let's go to, and that's what he's doing. Let's go to line 3 and speak to, what's up, Khalid Alahi?
Doc.
What's up, my brother?
Oh, man, listening to you brothers this evening. How you been?
We're good, man. We good, man. Your joy. I know you got some fatherhood joy because I know I talk to you, man.
Man, I'm just having a good time on this Father's Day, playing with this little girl's mind and creating and just shaping it. It's a little piece of clay that's just developing and just giving her everything that I didn't get when I was young. And just seeing it manifest is just a beautiful thing.
The folks don't know the story, but your younger brother, I know, and maybe some of us was shot and killed I can't remember the year, man. It's still hard for me to believe that
2004.
Waleed is gone. And the daughter that was born to you, you named her after him, Walida. And you talking about hands-on fatherhood. Can you hear me, Lyd?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Yeah, okay. You talk about hands-on fatherhood. And I remember you talking about you didn't necessarily get to do it before with your others, but with this one, right, you was gonna do it. And man, I ain't never seen a dad as happy as you watching her. And you actually homeschooling her, man. So you get to, and
she never been to public school. And what it was is, I was working in the public schools. I started with you, and I seen all the horror stories, all the young people we were dealing with, and all the distractions. And I said, I can't have my daughter in that. No offense, but she got to have a fresh start. She got to get the education, because without getting that education, she's going to be struggling and doing it how I did it. And I said, no, we're going to give her a shot, give her a chance from the gate. So I tried it, and it worked.
And I've been watching her grow up, man, and she is amazing. I mean,
yeah, she's ready to.
Amazing. I mean, like she could go to college. She could go to college at 15. I mean,
she's aiming, she's trying.
He did this video of her, and he sent it to me, and man, she is. Whew. You know what dads do with their daughters is funny, because I'm having just having lunch today with my daughter and her boyfriend, great guy. He already know. Dr. White, right. You got a little girl. He already know you come correct, or right. You know what I'm saying. I'm here, like, right. Ain't gonna be no craziness, and I'm sure he'll understand when the time comes. Like, we have to have the talk.
That's right.
And say, look, man, you don't have to do if you get tired of, give her back to me. You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
Because I'm always gonna be here.
That's right.
And having worked around so many young women that don't have that, that like, who gonna check them? And I think that is a huge thing when it comes to domestic violence and all these other things, And I have checked people just saying I'm some girl's father who in the club. Right. And dude will leave. Like, he won't leave for nothing else, but for pops, you're like, you understand what I'm saying, man. You understand.
That's right. That's right. They have to have a support system. That's right.
Yeah. And things function so much better in the overall village when the men are right. When you're being fathers. Hey, there's certain things we do, certain things moms do, and is that a harmony? And it's funny, we have really talked about the movie Black Panther a lot, but you could see it right there. Everybody was doing their thing, the flow, no competition, working in harmony. Right. And that's what made that movie, so wonderful for a lot of us,
Right.
The women and the men in that film. Lyd, man, you're a great dad, man. You're doing a wonderful job, man. I can't wait to send it.
You gave me some good trinkets to use, and we just start running with them coachisms and believing in them and recognizing the risk factors of violence and all that good stuff, and being dedicated to them books, and here we go.
Man, she's a little genius, man. That girl knows so much math, it's ridiculous. I can't wait to get her when she's ready to send her to college. Thanks, man. We're going to run. We're going to run. I'll see if I can get one more in here. Thank you, brother.
Estell, I love you.
Khalid say he love you. Dr. White, you want to jump in? You want to say something? Go right ahead. Yeah.
Larry just hit me on social media about Larry Dorsey Jr. He says what's happening for Machu Picchu.
Ooh, in Brazil. No, where is that?
Machu Picchu, I looked that up.
Yeah, he's down there. He ain't here.
He ain't here right now.
But he here. You can do anything now with technology. Let's get. I think Malcolm is there. Malcolm is there? Is he there on line 2? What's up? One more time.
Machu Picchu.
No. He's in Peru. Okay.
Hey, Doc, I'm here.
How you doing, Pops?
Oh, y'all got me in tears this whole show.
Really? Oh, man.
Yeah, I mean, because you're talking about something that it means so much to me. All about you.
Do I hear echoes? What do I hear? I hear something else other than other stuff. I don't know. Does somebody need to mute their phone? I don't know what's going on. Okay, go ahead.
No noise over here. I don't know if Khalid did they hang up on Khalid?
Yeah, I think so. We let him go. I think we did. Yeah, we let him go. Right. Okay. Joy's son, Joy's of Fatherhood, and I know you are definitely. I mean, I got some great memories of you that I can throw in, but your joys. Now it's your turn. And what are your joys?
Well, I was looking at the New York Times today, as I do on Sundays, and they had a spread of, fathers with their children. It was a photo spread. And, but the text under the picture said something that stuck with me. It said, children are at once a joy and a burden. And there's a certain kind of father who bears that burden with an easy grace.
Nice quote.
And it reminded me of the moment both moments where my children were born. I was there for both moments, both births. And I know some brothers got stories about how, they was chilling and they cut the cord and they caught the baby. Well, that wasn't me. I was frozen. I mean, I couldn't move for like 20 minutes. And I'll never forget those moments. I remember they had me take off my shirt and put my daughter on my chest, and she fell asleep for the first time in this world on my chest, And I haven't been the same as a human being since.
Yeah.
It's hard to put into words the awesomeness, the awe of life. Of a human life that I had something to do with and that I'm responsible for. I haven't been the same since then. So I guess the joy is just feeling that awesomeness, that incredible feeling, just to be a part of that circle, that cycle of life. It's the best. It's not a joy, it's the best joy. It's the greatest joy of my life,
Wow. Yeah. I think all of us, Dr. White, Ray, Malcolm, I know for me, when you're really into fathering and parenting and you get that, it regulates your behavior. It does. There's certain things you're just not going to do.
It changes things, that's for sure. For me, it changed my priorities.
Yeah.
Some stuff is not important anymore.
Yeah.
I don't need certain stuff, and that's a good thing. I didn't need the stuff before anyway, but now that I got two littles running around, I really don't need it. My daughter is 7 now. She just finished 2nd grade. She's at the top of her class. Her teacher said he's never seen a girl more prepared for the 3rd grade.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that feels good. We got a long way to go. As Chris Rock said, my main job is to keep my daughter off the pole. So,
okay.
So far, so good.
All right.
And then my son is 3. So he's in the, everything poop phase. If y'all have had a little kid before, he just likes to talk about poop. So he whispered in my ear today. He came up to me and he was like, "Daddy, I have a plan to poop all over the world."
Love it. Love it.
And, all I can say to folks listening is fatherhood has brought challenges. I'm sure it will bring more unexpected challenges. But you know what? I've been able to meet those challenges, and there's nothing I'd like to do more with my life than to meet those challenges. They make me a better person, a better man, and they also give me more gray hairs. But hey, I'll take those. It's just an incredible feeling. I feel blessed to be a father.
You said it perfectly. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I named my son Neo, like the Matrix. He is the one. He's the one for me. And my daughter Ida Violet. You know, there's nothing I love more than those two.
Go ahead, man.
What's going on? This is Kwam. I'm not a father, but I'm like the last one in my main circle. So I've never got to do this. So I just want to give a shout out to Dre, Alex, Greg, the new fathers, my frat brother Tyree, Ryan Reed, Chris, you know, just everybody.
Absolutely.
You know, shout out Happy Father's Day to those brothers. Alex, like, I hope I'm not missing anybody. You know, my fathers, you know, who just, I'm thankful. All I can say, I'm thankful. And the brothers who do have children, I just see them setting the standard for me, you know, when I have my children. You know,
yep.
But the single and all that, we don't get into that. But I just want to give a shout out to all my friends and family, everybody doing Happy Father's Day to my parents, you know, my dad.
Amen.
We all in this together, man. Right, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. I won't do my whole Malcolm memories. They're wonderful. But let me just say, man, that from a father's perspective, you turned out great, bro.
Well, you know, and I'm
you turned
thinking
out
about
great.
you, and you know how we've gone at it, you know, many times over the years. I think I'm still hurting from the time you hit me in my chest when I was in the 8th grade. Like
you're not supposed to tell that part.
Wrapped around your head.
Lord Jesus.
Oh, but you know, now I get it. I just want to thank you. Not only do I get it, now I see the cycle. I see what your father gave to you, what you gave to me, what I'm giving to my son. And that's just life, you know.
Yeah.
But I do think my chest still hurts, so I just want to let you know.
Hey, man, it was fun coaching you in the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, but don't tell nobody I was harder on you than anybody else. Basketball.
You know what's funny? When you say that your dad is Superman, that's what I think of you. So I remember you used to come home from the house. I would call you Hercules. You know, I just.
And I'm a little dude, so that's a nice. Lady Estell,
biggest, baddest man of all time, and you know, and I heard the call before. I heard the pain, the tears, and it hurts me. I mean, I'm sure it hurts us all to hear that, you know, but especially knowing what it's like to call your dad, to feel like your dad is Superman. I know that feeling, and every child deserves that.
Lady Estell trying to get this, consider this in, but I don't know if she can do it now.
Hey, it's a time.
Sorry, Lady E. Good night.
You don't need to apologize, baby. No apology necessary. Dads happen to do that to you sometimes. When you got a dad that knows how to be a dad, it can make you go on and on and on. It's Father's Day, and we celebrate all the men showing up as dads to date, who love their kids, who hold their hands, who make doctor's visits, meetings at school, teaching them to listen, learn, and how to stand. So tonight we focused on the joys of fatherhood with special guest Dr. Khalid White and filmmaker Ray Upchurch. We took a look at what the Alive and Free kids said about their own fathers when the word father was said. Their responses varied from joy to hurt. Then data was given which provided a different approach. Statistically, Dr. White said the conception about black dads isn't true. Black men are present as dads despite the news. Confirmed by Mr. Upchurch, who also said that our mothers of color want their children's fathers to be dads. Each shared their stories and how their work came to be, their awareness, the transformations, and their powerful realities. Fathers are a critical fundamental necessity in the positive development of children, dispelling the myth of society. So Street Soldiers wants you to clearly see as dad, your role is a vital gift from God. Own it, cherish it, and please stay alive and free. This is Lady Estell asking you to consider this.